right, hello everyone. Happy Friday. We made it to the end of the week. Hopefully everybody is doing well. Hopefully you have a wonderful weekend planned for you. I've got one more demo for you before the weekend here, so welcome in. We're going to be kind of taking it back to the basics today. So if we have any beginners in the chat here, you guys let me know. Let me know if you're a beginner, maybe if you're new to doing nails. Let me know. I want to see kind of where our crew is at here today. Let me know if you're a beginner. Let me know if you've been doing nails for forever. I would love to hear where you guys are at. Let's see. Tipsy Diva, I was just watching your live from another day and now you showed up again live. You guys, you never know. That's why you gotta subscribe to the channel. You gotta set your notifications. If you haven't already, you gotta subscribe to our text messages. And if you just text the word YN live, all one word, no spaces in there, text YN live, and maybe our moderators might be able to get that phone number in the chat for you. But our text number is 714-274-7323. So just text the word YN live to that number and we will get you on our list to send out notifications so that when we do go live, you guys will always get that notification. But again, make sure you hit make sure to hit the subscribe button, you guys, but don't text the word YN Live in the chat here. You got to text us at our text number. So 714-274-7323, and then we'll get you into that notification. So text us at our text number, not here in the chat, and we'll get you signed up for that. Let's see, who is joining us? Lots of people, lots of familiar faces. I'm seeing some beginners in our chat. So you guys, everybody welcome in. Those of you that are beginners, you are going to be in the great spot here today. So we're going to be going kind of back to basics. We're going to be getting in some really kind of basic, kind of dialed in techniques here for you guys. So we're always going to start with our prep on our nails. So when we do our prep, basically, our prep is cleaning up the cuticles and the nail plate. So we're always going to start by pushing back our cuticles. And I always tell my students, anytime you're even working on the trainer hands like this, make sure that you're still going through that kind of process of prepping the nails. The reason that we always want to make sure, even on our trainer hands, to prep the nails is so you get into the habit of doing that. Okay? If you are practicing on the trainer hand, whatever you practice on the trainer hand is what you're going to do when you actually get into the real hand, okay? So make sure that you're not skipping any steps. We're going to talk about protein bond, and sometimes that's kind of one of those steps that people will skip when they're on their trainer hands, but don't skip any of these steps. If you skip them on the trainer hand, you're going to forget to do them on a real person. So push back those cuticles, and then we're going to remove the shine from the nail. Now, I'm going to grab my electric file here. And this was our sanding band from yesterday's demo. I'm going to take that off. And you guys, I'm just using our magic wand. This is just our cuticle pusher and pinching tool. I'm just going to use that, kind of put some pressure into the center of the bit there, into that mandrel, slide off that sanding band, and we're going to throw that away. The sanding band is a one-use only, so you're only going to use that on one client, one person, and then you're going to throw it away. They are not disinfectable. If you do try to wash them, or if you get them wet in disinfectant or anything like that, they will start to kind of break down and they'll kind of peel away a little bit. They're really basically like your hand files. So they are kind of that same grit, that same paper that's on your hand files on that bit. So you want to make sure that you're not trying to sanitize and disinfect those. Now that mandrel that the bit or that sanding band does slide onto, this metal part is sanitizable and disinfectable. So that you should be cleaning and disinfecting after every client, but that sanding band you should be throwing away. So just slide that right on there. You guys, I'm going to push that down as far as I can get that. If it doesn't go all the way down, you want to make sure that you open up your handpiece again. We don't want this much space here. So open up your handpiece, put your mandrel all the way in, lock that into place, and then you can turn your handpiece upside down. And let me readjust so you guys can see. Get a grip on the handpiece, and then you can just push down, and that's going to slide that little sanding band all the way on there. You want to make sure that you're not putting pressure on the top onto the cord part up here. You don't want to be bending that cord or crimping that or breaking that or anything. So make sure you just hold the handpiece, push that sanding band on there, and it's good on there. Now I can bring that bring that mandrel out just a little bit if I need to, but the reason that I make sure that it's all the way in there before I push down is I don't want my bit partially out and then push that sanding band on, because what that's going to do, that's actually going to push that bit back in, and that can actually strip out kind of the mechanism that holds that bit. If you're pulling and pushing that mandrel in and out, it can start to strip and kind of wear down that inside, and it's going to make it a little harder for your handpiece to hold onto that bit. So make sure that you're not trying to slide that in and out when the bit is, or when the chuck is locked, okay? Lots of little techniques here, you guys, lots of little details that I'm going to share with you that will hopefully help you do some better nails and some kind of maybe learn the reasons why we do some things. So we're going to use our sanding band to remove the shine. Now, removing shine, you guys, if you take a look at the nails are shiny, but what that shine really is oils in the nail surface, okay? When we're putting on acrylics or hard gels or any kind of enhancement, we want to make sure that we're breaking up the oils in the nail, and that's where our e-file comes in. Okay, we're going to turn our speed on. You guys, I've got my e-file here. I'm going to turn my speed up to about 5,000 RPMs. So I've got my speed at 5,000. I'm a right-handed technician, so I'm going to work in forward. If you are a lefty, you can switch that over to reverse just by pushing that button, and you've got that reverse lit up. So as a right-handed technician, I'm going to switch back to forward, 5,000 RPMs. I always say low and slow. And then we're going to work right through the nail to basically break up those surface oils on the nail. So we're going to come right up around our cuticle area. Now, you guys, one thing that I didn't show you, that it's not 100% necessary, but if you take a look at our bits, the mandrel is slightly beveled already. So if I were to get this up to my cuticle area or into, along those sidewalls, it is very safe and very gentle. But if you feel like you need to bevel that even more, if maybe it feels just a little bit sharp, you can take another file. So you guys, this is just my regular hand file. Take that bit, and while the machine is turned on, just give it a couple of taps. So just go 1, 2, 3. So I was just right at this edge. So just this little corner edge right through here, that's where you're going to make contact with your file. That's going to just kind of bevel that edge just a little bit more so that there is no sharp edge if you're concerned about that. All right. So again, we're going to come up around our cuticle area, and I'm kind of working in a little bit of a C kind of a motion, a circular motion. I'm not trying to come all the way up around that nail in one motion. Just kind of short little strokes all the way up and around, working all the way through that cuticle area, okay? Now, as you're working around the cuticle area, you want to make sure that you're keeping that bit parallel to the nail. You're not angling that bit up, okay? We don't want to use this little corner of the bit. We actually want to use about the top half, or I would say maybe even 2/3 of the bit. So this whole section right through here, that's the area that you want to make contact with onto the nail, okay? So again, as you're coming around, see how I'm just making contact, coming around, okay? Now, you guys, I want you to also see my hand position. When I'm prepping the nails, I don't hold the hand from underneath, because when I'm doing that, I can't quite get all the way around where I need to. Okay, I'm going to turn my hand over. I'm going to hold that finger from the top view, so kind of that overhand grip. This is also going to help me to kind of pull down those sidewalls. So you guys, if you're working on a real client, sometimes, let me see if I can show you. Sometimes they have that kind of puffy skin on the side. We want to make sure that we're actually pulling that skin down, and by using that overhand grip, that's how I'm going to really be able to get that skin away. So that's going to really kind of expose that cuticle area. If I had that skin kind of puckered up around those sides like that, I wouldn't actually be able to get my bit, let me see if I can get it closer. I wouldn't be able to get my bit down in here along that sidewall. But by kind of pinching and pulling that skin down, now that really is going to expose that sidewall and expose that cuticle area. Okay, so using that overhand grip, like this rather than an underhand grip is going to help. Now, if you take a look, I don't know if you guys can see, so when I hold kind of that underhand grip, do you see how my wrist is kind of bent a little bit crooked here? By holding with more of that overhand grip, I can keep my wrist nice and straight, nice and kind of flat and balanced on my table, and it's not going to put strain or pressure onto my wrist, okay? That is huge if you guys are doing nails for any extended period of time. If you are working full-time in salon, you want to protect your hands, your wrists, your elbows, your shoulder, your back, all of your whole entire body. You want to make sure that you're taking care of that so that you can have a good long career doing nails. If you're sitting here and you're working with your wrist like this all day long, that's going to start to put strain and pressure all the way through that wrist, and that's where we start to end up with issues on carpal tunnel. So by just turning that hand around, turn that hand over, you actually now have a lot more control with how you move that client's hand versus underneath like this. Here I can kind of roll that finger a little bit, but from overhand, I can actually turn that hand from any different direction that I want to, okay? So it's just gonna be much easier for you. So let's get back to our prep. And we've already removed the shine right through that cuticle area. So once we've gone around that cuticle, we have our bit kind of in a diagonal position here. So kind of from that top left corner of the nail down to the bottom right corner of the nail, that's kind of the position that our bit ends up in once we've worked around that cuticle. So what we're going to do, we're going to stay in that diagonal motion, and we're just going to feather the bit across the nail. What I mean by feather is just kind of doing short little strokes in one direction. So we're going to just feather all the way through that nail. Okay, now if you're a beginner, slow that motion down, still stay at that diagonal, but just come across the nail, pick up the bit, come across, pick up the bit, come across, pick up the bit. And you're going to work all the way through that whole nail surface, okay? Now you guys, I want you to see something. As I'm working, I am going to keep my bit still parallel to the nail, but that nail surface curves a little bit. So when I'm working back towards that cuticle, I have my bit contoured and kind of angled with that nail here. I'm going to work up into that arch of the nail and down into that free edge of the nail. So kind of working with the curve of the nail. I'm still keeping my bit flat on the nail. I'm not angling up and using that corner, but I'm just contouring and just following the contour of that nail. So kind of keep that in mind. And also when you're working up here into that cuticle area, you're using more of the top part of the bit through that stress area of the nail, more of the middle part of your bit, down to the free edge, more of the base of your bit. So again, working in those different areas, you're going to make sure to make contact with that whole nail all the way through nice and easy, okay? So again, if you're a beginner, slow down with that motion, just come across, pick up, come across, pick up. Once you start to get really good at that motion, you're going to be able to do that nice and quick. So just kind of feathering all the way through and just lightly removing that shine. Now, why do we not just start at one side and go all the way back and forth and back and forth? Several reasons, okay? First reason is if you keep contact with that nail and you're just going back and forth and back and forth, that friction from the bit on the nail is going to start to cause heat on the nail. Your client is going to feel that heat on her nail and it can burn. So you want to make sure that you're picking up that bit, allowing it to cool down every time. Now, I know when we do that feathering motion, it's a minor point where you're picking up that bit, but just that little bit of breaking contact is going to allow that bit to stay cool, okay? The other reason that we're not just grinding all the way through, first of all, that's going to make a little bit more damage than what we need to do here. We don't need to do any damage, so we don't want to be grinding away that nail. But we also want to make sure that we're picking up and kind of working at that diagonal, because if we do try to come all the way across, what happens is we come across and our bit is going to it's going to kind of propel itself backwards because that's the way the bit is rotating. Okay, so when we let it propel itself backwards, we can sometimes lose control and that bit can wrap around. So that's why we only want to be filing in one direction. We kind of want some resistance with that bit. So we want it to actually do some filing. If it does propel itself back over, it's going to wrap around. It's going to kind of catch on that skin and it's going to wrap around. So again, slow down. As a beginner, work in one direction. Well, as everybody, work in one direction. Once you get comfortable with that motion, then you can do that faster feathering motion, but you're still going to be picking up the bit as you work across that nail. Okay, that is how we're going to remove shine from the nail. We're going to give that nail just a slight texture so it's not too smooth of a surface. And now we're going to come through and dust off the nail. Let me come out a little bit here. So we're going to dust that nail, really clean off any of that dust that we can, get rid of as much of that as we possibly can. And notice that as I'm brushing, I'm always working in the kind of the direction that that nail grows out. So downward, okay? I'm not brushing across. Sometimes I come underneath there and I'll brush across just to kind of get that dust from out underneath that nail. But we want to brush downward, so we really make sure that we get all of that dust out of those sidewalls. So again, if we brush across, all we're going to do is we're going to brush the dust down into those sidewalls, and it's never going to clean it out. So if we brush downward, that's going to clean out all of that dust out of those sidewalls and out of that cuticle area. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is use our swipe. Swipe is our cleanser. It's also going to remove any extra oils that, or the little tiny dust particles that are on there. So it's going to really ensure that we've got a nice clean nail surface. It's also going to help pull off any germs, any bacteria, and any extra moisture or oils that are still on that nail surface. Once that swipe dries, it's going to go back to kind of that chalky dry look. That's exactly what we want to happen, okay? If you start to see little shiny spots on here or anything, that means that there's either still extra oil in there or that you didn't quite get the whole shine removed with your e-file. And you may need to go back and do that again. But we're good here. It's nice and completely dry again. So we're now going to be able to go in with our protein bond. Okay. Protein bond is a bonder, and when you're working with acrylic, which is what we're going to be working with today, we need that textured surface that we have here, but we're also going to add 2 coats of our protein bond to give us a little bit more of a sticky surface. So this is going to give us kind of that tacky surface, almost like a double-sided tape. So the protein bond is going to stick down to that natural nail, but then it's going to leave that sticky surface for our acrylic to grab onto. And you notice, again, we're going to do 2 coats, but I start in the center of that nail, brush out to the side, and then I brush back towards my cuticle area. The reason that I do this is so that I don't flood that protein bond onto the nail and get that protein bond up into the cuticle area. Now, you guys, we were just talking about this on our Discord live channel this morning. When you're working with protein bond, let me show you that one more time. Protein bond is a non-acid bonder. It's not a primer, so it doesn't have the methacrylic acid that a lot of primers do have, but it is still a chemical, okay? You want to make sure that you're avoiding that skin contact. You want to make sure that you're not getting that onto the cuticle or the sidewalls or anything like that. But also, because this is kind of like a double-sided tape, or if you kind of think about it like an anchor, wherever you put your protein bond, that's where your acrylic or your hard gel, whatever you're working with, that's where that product is going to be kind of anchored down. So if you do get your protein bond up on the skin, it's going to pull that acrylic towards the skin, and then you're going to end up with acrylic on the skin. So again, making sure leave just a tiny little space. I'm not sure if you guys, even if I come in really close, you see how right along that edge there's just a tiny little space where I don't have that protein bond. We want that tiny little margin because we don't want product all the way to the skin. I think a big misconception with nails is that your product has to go all the way back to that cuticle. You guys, you want to leave just a hairline of space right in between so that product is going to get a really good tight seal onto the nail and you don't have any gaps by that cuticle area. Okay, let's get into our forms. Guys, we have 2 different styles of forms. We have our traditional blue forms. These are going to be kind of, I would say these are, for me, they're my everyday form, okay? These are the forms that you're going to use to sculpt out, I would say, your active length nails, even up to a longer nail. Now, if you have nails or you're trying to build nails that you want to make extra long, that's where our red forms come in, okay? We're going to start with just our blue forms today, and then I'll show you a little bit about the red forms. But when you're putting a form on, whether it's the regular ones here or the extra long, you're going to take that form, peel that off the backing, And then you're going to take that little tab from the center, right from the center there, and you're going to put that right on the back of your form. Now, if it has the shiny blue side up, that's fine. If it has the sticky side up, that's fine too. Just make sure that you put that little tab on the back. And then we're going to turn our form over. The reason that we put that on the back is it just gives that form a little bit more kind of stability, a little more firmness when we pinch our form together. Okay, so when we pinch our form together, we're going to pinch these two little silver tabs right here on the ends. We're going to pinch those together as evenly as we can get them. If you end up pinching them crooked and you put that form on the nail, you're going to create a crooked nail. So make sure that you get those tabs together as evenly as you possibly can. Okay. If you're going to be creating a more square nail, I would recommend leaving that end open. That's going to give you more of a square, kind of a tube shape to your form. If you are working on more of an almond shape or a stiletto or a coffin shape, you want to pinch that form together at the end, close up that end, and that's going to help you to create a more almond shape or a more pointed shape. Okay? If you want those nice long nails that long, you can leave the form like that. If you want them a little bit shorter, just pinch that form a little bit shorter. That's going to help to create the proper shape of your C-curve for that shorter nail. Okay. Now with our forms, I am going to open up that top perforation. Open up there. We're going to catch this form at a slight downward angle. Guys, we're not just going to shove that form right up underneath that free edge. We're going to start at a slight downward angle, catch that form underneath that free edge, and then you're just going to kind of lift up and kind of rock that end up. Okay, rock that up until it's coming straight out from that free edge. And let me show you what this is going to look like from the side. Secure it down there. But when you've got your form on nice and straight, it's going to look like a straight platform coming right out from that natural nail. Okay, we don't want our form angling up, so we don't want it, let me loosen that up. We don't want that free edge coming up like that. We also don't want it angling down and having a gap in between. So when you put your forms on, you want to make sure again that you're lifting up on that end, bringing that form so that it's nice and straight out. Then you secure it on the sides, and then you also want to take a look down the barrel. Do you see how right through here that form completely connects? It's actually crooked, so let me straighten this out here real quick. Okay, so we want our form nice and straight, and we don't want any gaps in between here. Okay, you guys, I don't know if you, there we go. So I'm getting nice and close here, right up close and personal. So you want to make sure that you don't have any gaps between that natural nail and that form. You want to make sure that maybe you didn't pinch that form a little bit off. You see how now I've got a little bit of a gap under there? The more you can get that form flush up underneath that free edge, the better you're going to do, and you're not going to have any product kind of seeping in between there. Okay, so make sure your form is flat under that nail and coming straight out. Okay. Now, you guys, just really quick so you can see, first of all, you've got a lot of new people coming in here, so make sure that you hit that subscribe button, join our community. But let me show you the red forms. So these guys are for an extra long nail. And I'm going to just grab one of our blue ones so we can, compare these both. So you can see the difference. So a couple of different things. Now I say that the red ones are for those extra long nails, but honestly you can use them for any length of the nail. You can cut them a little bit shorter if you want to. But you guys, I want to really show you a main difference between these two forms is that little center opening. Okay. With the blue forms have a little bit more of a rounded kind of point of contact. So if you have a more rounded free edge that you're working on here, these ones are going to fit nice up underneath there. If you have a little bit more, maybe you have a little bit more of a hyponychium kind of growing out underneath that nail, that little skin that kind of grows out under your nail, or a little bit more of an oval shaped free edge, you can use this form and get that form right up underneath there. Okay. Now, let's just do this, just so you can kind of see the difference. So you can see that shape of, let me come in a little closer here. You can see that shape of that more rounded blue form and that more kind of elongated oval kind of a free edge on the red form. Okay, so you can use these on whichever clients you want. It doesn't matter if you're using these on a client that you're going to sculpt long nails or short nails. If you want shorter nails, you can always just take your scissors snip off that end, and you've got that shorter form. Okay, so you can use either one. They both work great, so whichever one you want to work with works just fine. All right, are we ready for some acrylic? We've got our form on there, so I think we are good to go here. Let me grab our monomer, and let's see what's in here. So you guys, I have a little bit of monomer left over from yesterday's demo. You guys can kind of see there's a little bit of glitter down in the bottom. There's a little bit of color residue that I was using, some colored acrylic yesterday. When you do a fresh set, you always want to start with fresh monomer. Don't ever try to add your monomer to what's already in there. Now, is there a reason that I don't clean this out after my last client? Yes, I actually leave my monomer in here until I'm all the way through and my client is walking out the door. Then I will clean out my monomer in here because every once in a while you may need to touch something up. So I don't soak that up as soon as I'm done with my client. I wait until I'm completely done with her, okay? And then with my next client, then I will take a table towel, and it's just these same little table towels that I've got here. I just cut them into smaller pieces so that I can wipe my brush on them or use them to clean out my Dappen dish. So that's gonna go in there. I'm gonna grab my magic wand. I'm gonna use my magic wand instead of my finger. I don't wanna use my finger to clean this out. And we're just gonna soak up that monomer, and I'm gonna pop that out. You can definitely see that color residue on there. But now we've got a nice clean Dappen dish to use for our client. All right, I am going to, somebody's saying top coat in the chat already. You guys, we don't even have a nail yet. We can't put top coat on yet. We don't have a nail. Calm down. I know you guys, you get excited. I get excited too. All right, let's go ahead and pour out our monomer. And you guys, I always just use my brush, kind of touch that up to my bottle, and then you can pour your monomer right down your brush. This is going to help to keep you from spilling anything or from getting that monomer dribbling down the side there. So just a quick, easy little way of keeping things nice and clean. All right, again, I'm going to grab some of those table towels that I've cut into squares. We're going to grab our Cover Peach acrylic today. Guys, if you're looking for great nude colors, we've got Cover Pink, Cover Peach, Cover Earth, Cover Bear, Cover Blush, if you like a little bit of glitter. Guys, we've got a ton of different opaque colors that you can use for full coverage on your nails, and they're absolutely beautiful. So check those out on the website, youngnails.com. And you guys, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I see a lot of new people in our chat here today, a lot of new people joining us, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. All right, now, when we're working with acrylic, it is really important to make sure that you're picking up the beads properly. Let's come in here. I want you guys to really see this because I see so many people all the time picking up their beads incorrectly. And if you don't have the right consistency or really know how to pick up your beads, you're gonna struggle. So let's just start by just our basics. So all I'm doing at this point, I'm kind of just pressing my brush down into that Dappen dish. And what that's really going to do, so this is kind of what I'm doing, just kind of gently pressing my brush in there. I'm not trying to kill it. I'm not going all the way in. If you use too much pressure, that's going to kind of put some pressure onto the base of your brush, and you could eventually maybe kind of break the bristles in there. So again, I'm just kind of gently pressing that in there. I'm not trying to kill it or anything. So just gentle pressure. But what that's going to do is it's actually going to do a couple of things. It's going to start to spread out your bristles, and that's going to allow your brush to actually absorb more liquid. If you just dip your brush straight in there, that brush isn't really going to absorb much liquid, but if you get in there and kind of spread the bristles out, it's really going to be able to absorb that. Now, what it's also doing by pressing that out is it's going to press out any air bubbles that might still be in your brush. So when you press in, it's releasing those air bubbles and then absorbing that liquid. Now those air bubbles are not going to go onto your nail, okay? So that's what I'm doing when I'm going into my liquid, okay? When I take my brush out, I want you guys to really see this, okay? Come in there close. So when I take my brush out, I actually lift the brush out and kind of angle it slightly and then just tap the back side of the brush. Now I see a lot of times they'll get their liquid and they'll bring their brush straight up the side and they'll wipe all of that liquid out of the back of their brush. What that just did, that left me no more liquid in my brush. It really kind of drained out all of that liquid. So again, what we want to do instead, dip your brush in, give it a little bit of pressure in there, lift up, tap the back side of your brush, and you see when I do that, it's going to release a little bit of that liquid. So let me do that one more time so you can see. So by pressing, it's going to release liquid. If I press again, it's going to release more liquid. Okay? So the more presses you do, the more liquid is going to be released from your brush, and that's how you're going to adjust how much of the powder you're going to be able to pick up. Okay? So if I want to pick up a really big pearl, I may just very lightly tap the back of my brush, and then I can come in and I can pick up a really large pearl. Okay, now if I want to pick up a very small pearl, I'm coming a little closer, I can do more presses. So I can press, 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 however much you need to press, and then I'll just come in and I can pick up a small pearl, but I still have the right consistency, okay? Now, a couple other things that I see people doing that I want you guys to make sure you're not making that mistake. So again, you're gonna press the back side, but a lot of times what people do is they wipe, or they wipe both sides. You wanna make sure that you're only pressing liquid out of the back side, and then you're going to use the front side to pick up that pearl. That front side, I don't know, you guys can kind of see the front side. See how kind of shiny that brush looks? That means that there's a lot of liquid in there, okay? If we drain out all of that liquid, now it looks kind of dry, okay? But when you're pressing liquid out of your brush, you want to press it out of the back side. Now it's kind of pressing all of that liquid to the front side. The front side is now what we need to use to pick up our pearl. So I'm actually going to turn that over, and that's the part of my brush that I'm going to put into my powder, okay? Now, how do we pick up our pearl in the powder? I'm glad that you guys asked. I know you didn't ask, but I'm assuming that you asked. So when you go to pick up your powder, again, you're going to press the back side of your brush, turn your brush over so that you're working on the front side. Now, you're going to come into your powder at about a 45-degree angle. Now, you're not just going to jam your brush down into the powder, okay? Do you see how messy this is going to get? You're going to get product on both sides of your brush. You're actually going to get kind of a dry, chunky, kind of, see all that powder that's even falling off there? That's going to be way too dry for what we need, okay? What we want to do instead is we actually want to do kind of a press and pull motion in one. So let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to tap out my liquid. I'm going to press and pull. So it's almost just kind of scooping down in there. And what that's going to do, let me just drain this out really quick so you can see. That's going to leave the back side of our brush nice and clean, okay? That's also going to help when I set that pearl onto the nail to release completely onto the nail without leaving any residue on my brush. Let me just quick remove this from my nail before it sets, and then I'll show you something else here. So the reason that we want to make sure that we're keeping our brush clean on the back side, if we don't keep that clean on the back side and we pick up our pearl and we go to set that onto the nail and we lift up, do you see all of that product that's still stuck onto my brush? If I were to try to work down into my product now, that residue that's on my brush is going to start to kind of gum up into my brush, and it can start to harden in the brush, and you're never going to get a good clean application. So that's why we want to make sure that we are picking up a pearl on just one side of our brush. So let me show you again really close here. Tap out the back side of your brush, turn your brush over. You're going to come in and kind of press and pull in one. So press and pull, and then you're going to bounce. Pressure up, okay? The reason that we do that pressure, so let me kind of come in here a little bit more. So the reason that we do that pressure pick up is every time you put pressure down on your brush, that's going to release a little bit of monomer and it's going to absorb that powder. So it's kind of like a sponge almost. You're going to put pressure down, release liquid, absorb powder. Press down, release liquid, absorb powder. If you were to just come into your powder and say just press that brush down, so just kind of set that on the surface, a lot of times what can happen is you may not get the right consistency And it actually didn't happen this time, but a lot of times what can happen is that pearl can just fall back into your container. All right, you guys, I'm kind of trying to over-exaggerate this, but again, if you just allow that to kind of set your brush in there, you tend to lose that pearl into your product. And then you kind of do one of those and you can try to pick it up, try to pick it up, try to pick it up, and then you just waste your product, okay? So again, the technique that we're gonna use is we're gonna tap out the liquid out of the back side, turn your brush over, use the front wet side, kind of press and pull, bounce, bounce, and that's going to give you that really nice shaped pearl with a really good consistency on one side of your brush. So that way it's going to release easily onto your nail, okay? You guys, as I'm working here, do you kind of see how I am using a few different spots on my table towel? This is the exact reason that I cut these little table towels up, so that I can just take that top one. Once it gets kind of full, I can take that, throw that in the trash, and now I have a nice clean spot to wipe my brush on, okay? Always make sure that you are wiping your brush in a clean spot every time, so that you're not just wiping it in one spot over and over. If you're just wiping your brush, say on this area right here, that area is going to get completely saturated and it's never going to be able to kind of extract any of that product or that liquid out of your brush. So make sure that you're working in different areas on your towel, and then also make sure when you're cleaning your brush and wiping your brush that you're actually wiping that brush. So kind of pulling that brush across your table towel. Don't just dab your brush, because a lot of times if you have acrylic in your brush and you just kind of go to dab it, it's not going to really pull that product off. Wipe that brush and then it's going to fully clean off all of that product. Okay, then you're going to stay with a nice clean brush the whole time. Okay. All right, you guys, I know these are a lot of tiny little details, but if you are learning anything, if you're enjoying our lesson so far, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Like I said, I know we've got lots of new people here, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Join our community. All right, you guys, now here we know now how to pick up our pearl. So again, tap the back side. Actually, one little thing I still want to show you guys. If you take a really close look at your brush, let me come in nice and close here. A couple of different things with the brush. The brush has a little bit of a crimp right through the ferrule, so right through that metal part. If we look at the brush and kind of rotate that on the side, it's crimped on both sides, so that's going to be kind of our narrow side. And then this, if we turn here with that crimp, that's going to be kind of our flat side, and I always call that the belly of the brush, okay? If you look at your brush, you're going to see the top part right here, that's a little bit darker. That dark area is the area that you're going to want to use to pick up your pearls. If you start to get product all the way back up into this lighter area here, that's where you're going to tend to have more issues with your product clogging into your brush. So again, when you pick up your pearl, you're going to use just that top part of the brush, just that dark area, to pick up the pearl. It's not going to go back any farther than that, okay? You guys, take a look. Do you see kind of how that pearl has a little bit of texture? That's the next thing we want to talk about. So when you pick up your pearl, kind of start to notice what that pearl looks like, because sometimes when you pick that up, it's going to look kind of textured, kind of like an orange peel. Then it can tend to melt out and it's going to look more kind of like that smooth pearl look, okay? Keep these ideas in mind, because there's a couple of different consistencies that we're going to work with, and you're going to need to recognize that orange peel consistency versus that smooth pearl consistency, okay? So let's go on to actually putting our product onto our nail. Now I say that, but there's some things that I need to explain. When you're working on that free edge, I'm going to grab another form so I can show you guys this. This is a really important key of controlling your product. So if I were to pick up, let's come back out here. If I were to pick up a pearl of my Cover Peach and I were to just set that right onto my form right away, do you guys see what's happening? If I put that on the form right away, it's just going to start to move and flow and run, and I'm going to kind of probably lose control of it. It's kind of gummy. It's going to gunk up my brush. I'm probably going to make a mess. I don't have a lot of control with that, okay? What we want to do when we're working down here on the free edge on the form, we want to work in a more clay-like consistency. So what I mean by a clay-like consistency is we're still going to pick up our pearl like we did before. We're going to press our brush in, bounce, bounce, bounce. See that orange peel consistency? It's going to go to that pearl, but we want to take that pearl onto our towel, drain out that extra liquid, and then we can set that onto our form, give it a little bit of pressure, and at this point, it's now in more of a clay form, so it's not going to run. I can still use that belly of my brush, that body, that fatter part of my brush. I can use that to press that out and move that product wherever I want, but it's not going to flow out of control. Okay, so that's why on our forms, we want a little bit more control like that, so it's not going to be all over the place. So let's go ahead and do that on our nail. I know you guys, we got through all of this stuff and we still haven't worked on a nail, but now we're gonna, okay? We're gonna do, since we've got our form here a little bit shorter almond shaped, I'm gonna show you how to do an almond shape. So we're gonna pick up our pearl, come in there. We're gonna press, bounce, bounce. So I'm not gonna pick up a huge pearl for this one. Let me bring that back out. I'm going to pick up another one. Because we're doing a little bit of a shorter almond-shaped nail, I don't need a lot of pressure or a lot of product, but I am going to drain that onto my towel. Release that liquid. Now, my bead is going to come to more of a matte look. So you guys can see it doesn't look like that shiny pearl. It has just a slight texture to it and more of a matte look. Okay, that's again what we want for that clay-like consistency. So all of these little details, you guys, are just things that is going to help you, especially if you're a newbie, learning how to pick up that pearl, so you know what to look for, what it should look like. And again, we're going to drain out that liquid. I'm going to set that right in front of my free edge. I'm going to wipe out my brush, use the fat belly part of my brush. I'm going to press that out so it's nice and even from side to side. Then I'm going to use the edge of my brush, tuck in on the side, and it gets a little bit bulky here. So we're going to use the belly of the brush again, press that bulk up into the corner, tuck in on the side, press that bulk up into the corner, tuck in on the side, walk all the way across. So you're going to just use little pressing motions all the way across to get it nice and even. Same thing, use the edge of your brush, tuck it in on the side, press that bulk up into the corner. I'm going to wipe out my brush, kind of reshape it a little bit. Press in on the side, walk that up into the corner. Press in on the side, walk all the way across. So little steps all the way across, pressing that nice and even. Then I can put a little more pressure and start to bring that down into more of that almond shape. Use the edge of my brush, kind of coming from the corner back here to the point of the form. Just kind of using that as your guideline. I'm going to get a little bit more of that product into the corner, using your brush as that guideline, and then we're going to walk back across to keep that even. Okay, same thing on the other side. Use the edge of your brush at that slight angle from the corner to the point, angling your brush from the corner to the point out to that free edge. That's how you're going to get that nice oval shape. Okay, so guys, now we can see we got kind of the start of our oval shape. And if it's not 100% perfect at this point, that's okay. We're going to do some filing and finishing at the end, so don't worry about that. But we've got our free edge built in there, okay? Now, on our free edge, we used a clay-like consistency, okay? When we're working up over the nail body through here, we actually want to have more of a product or a consistency that's going to flow. So it's going to start at the cuticle area. I'm going to angle the finger downward, and I want that product to flow down the length of the nail. Now, you guys, you can see from the side, this is the angle that I'm working at. I don't have my nail up here. It's not flat. I have it angled down. The angle of my brush to the nail is about a 45-degree angle. So by having my brush at this angle and having that nail angling down, I can press out my product at my cuticle area, and it's going to flow down the length of the nail. It's going to be nice and thin and tapered at my cuticle area, and it's not going to run down into the sides. If you have your nail flat and you're trying to work through here, you're actually going to have product flowing down to the sides. Okay, let me show you what I mean on a different nail over here, and then I'll actually do it on the real nail, because sometimes it happens really fast and you guys want to make sure you're seeing what you need to see. All right, so we're going to pick up our pearl. So on this one, we're not going to drain out the liquid, but we're still going to notice that orange peel. Okay, so that orange peel texture. We're going to wait until that looks more like a pearl. So right about now, okay? That's at that pearl phase. That's when we're going to put that product onto the nail. Now, how do you know without looking at it? I mean, you can definitely look at it, but you can also give it a count. So if we pick up our pearl, press, bounce, whoops, bounce. If you count 1, 2, 3, 4. Usually by 4, if you had the correct amount of liquid, usually by 4, it's going to look more like that pearl, okay? So when we put that on, let me show you on this one. When we put that on, again, that nail is angled downward. I'm going to pick up my pearl here, bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. That looks like a pearl. I'm going to turn my brush over. I'm going to press that pearl down. And again, you guys, do you see that angle that I'm working at? It's that 45-degree angle. I'm going to use the point of my brush. I'm going to press around my cuticle. So I'm going to start in the center. I'm going to press, press, press. I'm going to pivot my brush on the side. So I'm going to turn my brush. Remember how I was showing you guys the brush from this view and then our side view? That's what I mean. So here we're going to press, press, pivot your brush to the side, and press that side. That's how you're going to get a really nice contoured cuticle area, nice and thin and nice and tapered all the way around this side. So when you put that pearl down, you're going to set it down in the center. You're going to lift up your brush. You're going to start from the center. You're going to press, press, pivot. You're going to come back to the center. You're going to press, press, pivot to the other side. So that way your cuticle area is going to get nice and thin and tapered. That product is going to flow down the length of the nail. And actually, you guys, if you were going to do a smile line, you already had that smile line in there, okay? But just by allowing that product to flow down the length of the nail, you're already starting to create that, that structure, okay? Now, you guys, I know you guys are looking at this, it's chunky monkey. That's not the purpose at this point. I wanted to make sure that you guys were seeing how to place that product at the pearl, because I think so many nail techs, and especially beginners, have a challenge getting that product perfect around their cuticle. So again, we're going to press, press, pivot, come back to the center, press, press, pivot, okay? All right, let's go ahead and do this on a real nail here. Or not a real nail, but our trainer hand. Okay, so again, we're going to pick up our pearl. We're going to press, bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm going to wait 1, 2, 3, 4 until it looks like pearl. I'm going to angle the finger down. I'm going to set that pearl down, angle that finger down. I'm going to press, press, pivot, press, press, pivot. Now, I'm just going to allow that product to start to flow. If I need to kind of guide it into place, I can just kind of touch and kind of guide that product down the length of the nail. I'm not putting a lot of pressure or anything like that, just kind of giving it a couple of little taps here and there just to help it flow a little bit more, okay? Once it stops flowing, lift up on that angle, pivot your brush onto the side. Use the side of your brush to blend out that edge. Same thing on the other side. Pivot your brush to the side, blend out that edge. Now we're just going to blend out just that little bit of kind of the end of that pearl, okay? I'm not pulling product all the way from the back of the nail, just blending out just that little bit of the edge, because what this is going to do, this is going to help to start our structure, okay? Got to blend that just a little bit more here on the side. But this is going to start that arch to our nail, okay? Our nail is nice and thin and tapered at the cuticle area. It's going to be up a little bit thicker right here through the stress area, okay? We want that little bit of extra thickness in our stress area for support and strength to our nail. If we just created a flat surface on our nail, that nail is not going to have any structure to it, okay? If we were to maybe jam this nail or bump this nail, this area right through here is where all of that pressure is going to go, okay? So we need to build up a little bit of thickness here to have a little bit more strength, okay? After we have that, obviously we've got a little bit of a divot right through here. We're going to need to fill that in. So we're going to pick up one more pearl. Now, you guys, on our free edge, we had that clay-like consistency on the free edge. Here back at our cuticle, we had that wet pearl to really bond well to that nail and to flow down to the kind of that stress area. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pick up a pearl that's kind of right in between the consistency of that clay-like consistency and the wet consistency. So what we're going to do for that is we're going to pick up our pearl and we're just going to tap it onto the towel. So just 1, 2, just a quick release of liquid. I'm going to turn my brush around, set that down, blend my brush back, pivot again on the sides, blend that back, pivot on the other side, blend that back, wipe out my brush. Now I can come back in with that fat belly part of my brush, press that product down, and just kind of work that from side to side so it's nice and even, and kind of blending that all the way down to that free edge. Now you can blend forward. If you want to pull more product down to the free edge, you can turn your brush around and blend back up to that arch into that stress area if you need a little bit more thickness in that stress area. But now we filled in that little indent. We've got a nice thin tapered cuticle area. We've got a little bit more product right through our stress area, and we've got a nice thin and tapered free edge. We are going to do a little filing, so we'll probably take down just a little bit of bulk right through our stress area. We probably don't need quite so much of an arch, but again, we've got our structure in there. Okay, so you guys, all of these little details are really going to make your nail enhancement life much easier. Okay. So somebody's saying those are extremely thick. You guys, we have just applied our product. We haven't done any filing or finishing on this nail. You guys, I always say, trust the process, okay? If you're not trusting the process, you always just want to check. Do you have the proper amount of product at your cuticle area? Yes, I've got a nice thin and tapered cuticle area. I am gonna, again, do a little bit of filing, so we'll kind of taper that down just a little bit. Again, I've got a little bit of kind of thickness through my stress area, so I know that even if I do have a little bit too much, I can always take that down, but I'm still gonna have the proper thickness there. And then really it just kind of tapers down and flows into that free edge. Now if I look at my free edge from down the barrel, you guys, you can see that free edge is actually pretty thin, okay? So I'm not going to have a whole lot of filing to do at that free edge. So my structure is in this nail. I just need to do a little bit of perfecting with my file to make sure everything is nice and even, okay? We are going to allow this nail to set. It does need to dry, so we'll give that just a little bit longer there to dry. But in the meantime, what I always like to do when my nails are drying before I file, always go through, cover up your liquids and powders. You guys, make sure that you're covering this up so that you don't get any dust in there and contaminate it or anything like that. Keep your brush clean. You guys, as I work, I do keep my brush in my liquid, or when I'm done, if I'm kind of doing other things, I will keep my brush in my liquid just to help to kind of soak out any little bit of residue that might still be in my brush. Now, when I'm done with my brush, I will take a clean little towel. Again, kind of rinse that out in your monomer. You're going to take your brush, you're going to wipe both sides. So wipe the back side, and then you guys, you're going to turn that brush over, wipe the front side. Maybe give it one more little quick rinse, wipe again, and then you're going to roll that brush to a point. So all I'm doing is just rolling my brush between my hand like that, and just kind of gently touching the point of the brush to the towel, draw it across the towel. That's going to bring those bristles back into a nice tight point and a good shape, okay? Make sure that you're storing your brush so that your brush doesn't get any dust or anything on there. If you got a good clean place in your drawer, that's going to be an ideal place for it. Okay. Now again, you guys, I do leave that little bit of liquid in here just in case, maybe as I'm filing, if there was anything else that I still needed to touch up, I wouldn't have to pour out any new monomer in here. But as soon as I'm done with that and I'm ready to polish or all that, and I'm done with the client, then I will toss this or soak this up with my paper towel and dispose of that so that I can use fresh monomer for my next application. Okay. All right, we've got our clean spot here. We can hear that if I kind of tap on that, or if I even just use my brush handle, you can hear kind of that sharp click almost all the way through. If you're not hearing that sharp click, it's got just a little bit ways to go to set up, but once it is completely set up, you should hear that nice sharp click. So in the meantime, I'm gonna grab my dust collector, and we'll just set that right in the center here, you guys. This is our new blinged out cordless dust collector. If you guys didn't get it on the Black Friday sale, unfortunately, this bundle is sold out at this time, so this is no longer available. But you guys, we still have some other great bundles and deals on our website. So make sure to check that out if you haven't already. Make sure you hit subscribe on our channel here before we finish our nail. And guys, if you noticed, I just switched over from my sanding band. So that sanding band was the first bit that we used to remove the shine from the natural nail. I did switch over to our X-Cut carbide. You guys, the X-Cut carbide, this one is designed to shave down product. Now, when I say shave down, I mean shave down. It's going to take down your bulk fairly quickly. This bit, I always want to note that this bit is never to be used on a natural nail. Okay, this is way too coarse and it's going to take down way too much of your natural nail if you try to use this on a natural nail. So only use your X-Cut on artificial nails. Okay, all right. Let's come in here. We are going to take our form off because our nail is nice and set. I'm going to pinch my form together underneath there, peel that form off, and we'll turn on our dust collector. And we'll turn on our e-file. I'm going to turn my speed on my e-file all the way up to about 15,000 RPMs. And we're going to start by filing the perimeter of the nail. So what I mean by the perimeter is our sidewalls and our free edge. So right down the side here, this side here, and that free edge, okay? When I'm working on an almond shape, it's really not a lot on the free edge. It's more so on those sides, all right? So we're gonna start by just pulling that bit down the left side and kind of rounding into our shape, okay? I'm gonna push back on my right side, pushing back on my right side, and if I need to kind of take down any bulk or anything from that free edge, I'm going to pull down, make a little U-turn, and push up. Now you guys, I'm not using a lot of pressure. I'm basically making contact and then pulling through, okay? If I use a lot of pressure, I'm going to take out too much product, all right? So make sure that you're just making contact, pulling down, pushing back up, okay? If you want to create that free edge, come down, make that little U-turn, and back up. So down and back up, okay? And you guys, don't worry if your free edge, if your shaping isn't 100% perfect. I'm going to show you how to fix it at the end, okay? We are going to turn the nail on the side, and I'm going to clean up my lower arch here. I don't have a lot on this side hanging down, but I want to make sure, let me see if I can find my orange wood stick that I always use. Nah, I can't find that, so we're going to use this one. I want to make sure that my product is coming straight out from that natural nail. You guys see how that natural nail starts at the cuticle area, comes all the way down, and then right out into that free edge. That's exactly what we want. So right now, I don't have a lot of product hanging down. Let's look at the other side. This side, I've got a little bit more product hanging down. And let me show you from this view here, okay? So I want my product to come straight out. Guys, that's not very straight. Let me grab a different something or other here. All right, so let me grab our magic wand. So I want to make sure that that product is coming straight out from where that natural nail grows. So anything that my magic wand is covering up right now all needs to get filed off. So not a whole lot again, but I've got a little bit more product hanging down here on the free edge. Now, the biggest challenge that people tend to have, whether it's with the hand file or the electric file, is they try to start all the way back up into that corner. Make sure that you're only taking out that bulk where it needs to come out. So I'm just going to work right down on that free edge. I don't need to file anything back up here. I'm just going to take down that little bit that's kind of hanging off the free edge, straighten that out. So now you can see that that product is coming straight out from that natural nail, okay? We're going to look from this view here. And you guys, what you're seeing is exactly what I'm seeing, okay? We're going to work right up around our cuticle area just to kind of remove a little bit of that bulk. I still have that overhand grip that I was showing you guys earlier. I'm going to now turn that nail on the side, okay? Here's where I'm going to take down the bulk from that arch. But you guys, again, what you're seeing is exactly what I'm seeing. I'm not looking straight at this nail. I'm looking at it from the side. I'm going to work from that cuticle area up into that stress area, and then down to my free edge. And then notice I'm not trying to come all the way across. Just like we were talking about earlier, is when you try to come all the way across, if your bit starts to disappear behind that acrylic, what's going to happen is it's going to again catch on that client's finger, and it's going to wrap around, potentially cutting your client. So all we're doing, if I show you from this view, all we're doing is we're working from the center to the left side of the nail. Okay, we're just cutting in that arch. Don't worry about this part over here. We'll get to that, I promise. There's a method to the madness. But when you're creating that arch, you want to look from the side so that you can see exactly what that arch is looking like and exactly where that proper position is. So again, just starting from the center, working out to the sides. So now you can start to see that arch coming into place, okay? Once you have your arch where you want it, you've got your product thinned down a little bit through that center area, thinned down at the free edge. Now I'm going to turn my nail and I'm going to look down the barrel. So now you can see this is where I've already filed through that center arch. Now I'm just going to take the bulk down the sides. I'm going to position my bit. Again, make contact, pull that bit forward. On the left side here, I'm using more the top part of my bit, just taking down that bulk all the way through, okay? You can kind of see it's getting a little thinner, a little more tapered. On my right side, I'm going to use the base part of my bit, again, making contact and pulling through. Once you have that bulk taken down from both sides, then I'm going to start on one side. I'm going to work all the way up and over, making sure everything is nice and even, nice and smooth, a little bit more contoured. And again, now from the barrel, you can kind of see, again, it's not perfect, but we're not done. But we did take down that bulk, okay? I usually like to look one more time from the side here just to make sure that my arch is still right where I want it. Just kind of flowing through there a little bit. And maybe one more last time just to make sure everything is nice and even, okay? At this point, we have a lot of our structure in there. It's a pretty good shape, but I am going to switch back to my sanding band. So that same bit that I was using to prep the natural nail. And with our X-cut, we were working at about 15,000 RPMs. This time I'm going to turn my speed down to about 7,000 RPMs. And I'm just going to use this bit just like we did in all of those other motions. Up around my cuticle area, down that side. I'm going to turn from the arch view. I'm going to come from the center across. Again, just making contact and pulling that bit across. Okay. I'm going to turn my bit, or turn the nail, look straight down the barrel. And you guys, the reason that I'm using the sanding band is because this is just going to help refine a little bit more. So refine my shaping, refine everything so that it's one less thing or a little bit less that I have to do with my hand file. We were talking earlier in the demo about protecting your hands, your wrists, your arms, all of your body. You want to make sure that you're doing as much as you can to protect it. So by using the electric file, I find that it's much easier on my hands and my wrists and my arms. So anything that I can do with my hand file, with my e-file, I'm going to do, okay? At this point, we've got really good shaping, a fairly smooth structure, fairly smooth contour, a little bit lopsided underneath in that lower arch, but the majority of our filing is done. All we need to do now is perfect this, okay? Now I'm going to come in with my 150 grit file, and I'm actually going to grab a brand new file. And you guys, this is something that I think a lot of times we kind of forget to mention, or sometimes they don't even mention it in schools. But anytime you get a brand new file, I always have my extra prep file. So I have my file here labeled as prep. This is my file that I use to prep my new files. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take that file, I'm going to run it flat across the top of my new file. I'm going to angle it just slightly. I'm going to catch just this edge. So just kind of that edge of my file, take off that sharp edge. Same thing on the other side, just slightly angle that and take off that sharp edge. Because when you get brand new files, they do have a sharp edge on them. If you don't remove that sharp edge, there's a good possibility you're going to cut your client. So make sure, if a brand new file, make sure you soften up those edges. make sure to clean that up so that you're not going to cut. Okay? All right, you guys, if you're enjoying our lesson today, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I know there's lots of new people joining our channel here today, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. All right, we are going to come in. We're going to start by, again, our perimeter, just like we did with our electric file. We're going to start just straightening out those sidewalls, cleaning that up. Same thing on my left side, straighten out that sidewall. And you guys, when I'm working on my sidewalls, I want to make sure my file is nice and perpendicular to that nail. I'm not angling that, okay? I'm not cutting into that corner. So make sure that file is, did I say perpendicular? Parallel. You guys know what I mean. Straight along these edges here so that you're not angling that file in. All you really want to see is that blue line down the center of the file. That's going to show you that your file is nice and straight, okay? We're going to just kind of shape up that free edge a little bit, kind of round that out a little bit for that almond shape. I'm going to turn that nail on the side just like we did with the electric file. Line that file so that it's straight out from that natural nail. Coming straight out. Again, you guys, I'm not angling my file into that corner, okay? Same thing on the other side. Turn onto the other side, straight in line with that side. Nice and even, okay? We're going to come up around the cuticle area just to kind of contour it a little bit more. Round out those edges now that we filed our sides straight. So just kind of up and around or down and around, but rounding out those edges. Same thing on my right side, rounding out and kind of tapering that cuticle area, rounding out those sides. And then I'm going to turn my nail just slightly out on the side. I'm going to look from the side view and I'm going to file backwards. So I'm putting that pressure with my file right at my free edge and just kind of blending back up into that arch. Okay, so just kind of back up into that arch. That's what's going to help to really taper in my free edge and keep that nice and thin. Now, we're going to turn our client's hand around. Okay, we're going to look from her view. So I want to see exactly what she sees. So I'm going to look from her view. It's coming a little closer. Whoops, there we go. And this is where I'm really going to straighten out the nail. Make sure my sidewalls are nice and straight. Make sure that my free edge is nice and straight. My shaping is right on. So if you want it a little bit more pointed to that nail, you could make it a little more pointed. If you want it a little more rounded out, you can round it out. I'm going to now look backwards down the barrel of the nail, okay? And I'm going to look all the way from the cuticle. I'm going to rock that nail up. So now I can kind of look all the way from the cuticle all the way through that free edge to see if there's any high spots or low spots or anything that I need to clean up from this view, okay? I'm just going to kind of flow my file all the way through that nail. I'm not going to just do kind of short choppy strokes because every time you do a short stroke like that, that's going to put a flat spot. So if you keep your file in motion, kind of flowing all the way through, so all the way through from the one side all the way up and over to the other side, that's going to give you a really nice smooth contour all the way through, okay? Again, kind of rocking that finger up and down so that I can see if there's any high spots or low spots. And I think we are good. All right, who is ready for top coat? What do you guys think? Are we good to go? All right, let's go ahead and turn off our dust extractor. And we'll come back through. We'll dust off our nail. Now again, those of you that are new to our channel, at this point we always do our little top coat chant, which is just chanting in the chat. So if you want to type in top coat, that's what our next step is going to be. Those of you that have been with us for a while, you know what to do. All right, so we're going to dust off that nail, get all of that dust off of there. We're going to come in with our swipe, so that same product that we were using to cleanse the nail earlier. We're going to pump a little bit of that onto our brush again. Let me come in. We're going to just cleanse that nail really well there. Dust that all off. Get all of the germs, any bacteria, anything that might still be stuck on the nail. We're going to make sure that is nice and dry. And then we're going to come back in with one more coat of Protein Bond. Okay, Protein Bond is going to kind of fill in. You can kind of see there's some little scratch marks from our file on there. We're not going to buff. We don't need to. We are just going to apply one more coat of Protein Bond, and then we can finish the nail. Now you guys didn't think I was really going to do a nail without any glitter or color or anything like that, did you? If you did, you haven't been watching our channel very long. You guys, we're not going to finish this with just a regular top coat. We have a beautiful new, and I believe these are in the, moderators correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe these are in the acrylic mystery box. We have these beautiful new glitter one-step gel polishes. So these, being a one-step gel polish, they don't need an extra base coat or a top coat. Cutie kittens, I know, I scared you guys for a second with no glitter, but you're getting glitter whether you like it or not. But again, you guys, the one-step gel polishes are a one-step. They don't need a base coat or a top coat. They go on, they fully cure in 60 seconds, and they leave a beautiful high shine finish. And our new gel polishes, this new collection, I think we're calling them the diamond gels because they are super, super sparkly, super shiny. For the most part, they are somewhat sheer, but if you layer them on, you're going to get a little bit more glitter. You're going to get a little bit of a deeper kind of a color. You can kind of see, actually, let me just top this one right onto my nail. They have that glitter in there, but there is a little bit of a sheer color in some of these as well. So some of them have a little bit of that color in them. Some of them are just glitter. So you guys, again, in the acrylic mystery box is where you're going to find these. They are not available for purchase individually. So let's go ahead and, oh, what color should we use? Should we use rose crystal? Let's see what rose crystal is. You guys, I'm still new to these colors too. Oh yeah, okay, that's gonna be a beautiful color for, I think this is a good one for Thanksgiving coming up next week. So let's go ahead and use that. Again, this one is rose crystal. And I love using these over either the cover pink or cover peach. We've got the cover peach on her nail here. But it's just the cover colors are a great background for these gel polishes, just because they give you a nice, even, kind of an even surface or an even platform to work on. So we're just going to brush on a coat. And you guys, you can do one coat, you can do two coats, whatever you want that nail to look like. I tend to kind of go over these a little bit more than maybe I would just with regular gel polish, because I like to kind of spread out those glitters. I like to get a really good even, kind of an even layer of those glitters. So I'm going to get this into our 60-second light. And so that's in our 60-second light. You guys, those of you that have been with our channel for a little while now, you know that I've got two lights on my station here. I've got one on this side and then one over on this side. And for those of you that are working in salon, you would want to set your timers on these for whatever time you need. So this one, let's see if you guys can see, if I come in a little closer, you can see there's 35 seconds left on that. So on my lights though, because I'm just doing demos here, I've got this light on this side set to 60 seconds and I've got this light set to 30 seconds so that I just can use that as kind of a freezing technique or a full cure. And I just can alternate from one light to the other and I don't have to change that. But if you are working on clients, you can change those settings for yourself. So while that is curing, guys, let me grab a mixing towel. I'm just going to show you guys just really quick. I'll kind of show you some of the colors. Whoops. I guess that was a quicker minute than I thought. So let's do our second coat. We're going to do a second coat. So when you're working with the one-step polishes that I've got here, I like to cure these for a full 60 seconds. Now, a lot of times you guys see me freeze my gel polishes or my top coats for 30 seconds, but I feel like I get a better cure of these if I do that full 60 seconds all the way through and then do my second coat for 60 seconds all the way through. So just my personal preference, but I do find that I get a better cure that way. Oh, you guys, this color is gorgeous. Camera does not do this justice. It is a beautiful rose goldy, beautiful color for Thanksgiving. I've got a little product right down on the side. I want to make sure I clean that off before I cure. Let's go ahead and pop that into the light. We will fully cure this one out. We don't need an extra top coat on it. But in the meantime, let me show you the other colors. So that one that we had was Rose Crystal. We've got Prismatic Radiance. This one, you guys, I love that one because it's just a really pretty multicolor. So super, super pretty. I think that's going to be a great one for Christmas. It's going to go with greens. It's going to go with reds. It's going to be a beautiful accent color. This one is, oh, I think this might be my favorite, Lavender Luster. That really pretty, just a soft lavender with a lot of sparkle to it. And we've got Champagne Twinkle. And you guys, I think this is the one that I just put on my toes. I did a coat of black, so Manicure black, or the Go Time, or the One Step black with this one over the top. This is going to be a beautiful color for New Year's, kind of that champagne, but all of that multicolored glitter. Love that. Next one we've got here is Dazzling Druzy. Somebody told me what druzy meant, and I can't remember, but I don't remember what druzy means. But this is another one of those multicolors. You guys, this has got some blues and some reds and all kinds of different kind of fuchsia in there. So that one's going to be super fun. All right, two more. We've got Moonstone Magic. And this one is, you guys, this is kind of a great for like a top coat over any color. So if you just want a little bit of that silver sparkle in there, let me come in there. There you go. Oh, that's a much better view. So yeah, that's just, it's got the clear base and then the silver sparkle and the hologram sparkle in there. Oh my gosh, you guys, look at now that they look much better with this view here. So there we go. Okay, and last one is Glacial Prism. And this one is a beautiful blue, kind of a wintry blue. That one I think is going to be awesome for all of those wintry kind of snowflake designs. Beautiful background for those. Again, you guys, camera's not doing these justice, but they are super, super pretty. Again, you guys, One Step, they don't need a top coat to them. So our nail is done curing at this point. So we can take that out. I don't have to cleanse off any tacky surface. I don't have to put a top coat on. It is completely set, nice and easy. So you guys, hopefully some of these kind of step-by-step basic application techniques will help you with your acrylic applications, give you guys some insight for your upcoming applications, and some sparkle for your holidays. So you guys, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, join our community, and I think we will be back on Monday. So everybody have a wonderful weekend and do some fancy nails. And you guys, if you do nails, anything that we've inspired you by with all of our live streams here, make sure you tag us. We want to see what you guys are coming up with. So thank you all for joining us. We will see you guys next week. Have a great weekend, everyone.